Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have the pleasure of being with Coach Cedron Harris, who just recently ended season, coached the St. John's Jesuit freshman goal team. Good evening, Coach.
Good evening, John.
How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Coach, we've had the pregame show and the aftergame show for some of the games this season, depending on the time you had to talk to us, and depending on my availability, if you want to call it that. But I realized that we really haven't had the time to sit down and find out much about you.
Okay.
So I'm very grateful that you've taken the time out to talk to us today, to let the audience know who you are. So I have some questions that are partly biographical and partly professional. I want to ask you about who you are and just a bunch of other questions that might pertain to who Coach Cedron Harris is.
Awesome.
Great. So, first question, who is Coach Harris? Are you local to Toledo?
Yes, I am. I'm a 06 graduate of Jessup W. Scott, Go Bulldogs. Played high school 1 year. Also, I'm a father. I have 3 kids, 6, 4, and 1, and I'm a husband to my beautiful wife, Michelle. So that's who I am, and I'm a son. I have 4 sisters and 3 brothers.
Oh, nice. Pretty big family.
Oh, yeah.
All from here in Toledo.
Correct.
Great. Coach, everybody, one of the things I liked that was bandied several, well, it's almost been 2 decades ago by a wife of one of the presidents of the United States was, she wrote a book that said it takes a village to raise a child. And that stuck with me. It's an African proverb, which means that, everybody has a helping hand in raising somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's never just you.
Correct.
Because, your parents are there, your grandparents, your uncles, aunts, teachers, friends, because your friends could have a positive or negative impact on you as well. You are a coach, and by so doing, you're dedicating your life to teaching and helping younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
Who were your mentors?
Off rip, I would say my first coach was Dennis Black in high school. He was a coach just taught me just to be aggressive and confident. And then from a professional standpoint, Tandy Bradford, local coach here, Dennis Hobson, he's one of my mentors. Jason Dixon, he's one of my mentors. And then just coaches from schools I've worked at, Miami Valley with Rob Conover, learned some things from him as well as Dave Rainier from Emmanuel Christian, Jody Henney, who was actually my first assistant coach. And he just kind of gave me the keys to run and do a lot of things to grow. So those are just some of the coaches that have helped me learn and took different things from them and applied them and made them mine, but that have helped me along my way.
Good. That allows me to segue into this next question. Coaching is harder than people think.
It is.
Because you, unlike being a boss, right, where you're teaching people, you're instructing people to do jobs that they've been selected for. With coaching, you have to train people into quote unquote the job.
Correct.
And what you're doing, you're training kids who, at this point in time, really don't know who they are or what they want to do.
Yeah.
Why do you do it?
I love it. Any way you can be involved in something, you'll do it. Whether it's, art, whether it's dance, whether it's music. There are a lot of people that love music, but they're not necessarily singers. They're just writers playing the background, And with coaching, just loving. I wasn't the best athlete, but I love coaching, and that was my part to give back to the game of basketball. And then just competitiveness. I love the game of basketball, A lot of people might champion another sport. I champion basketball every day. I love it. I dream about it. And then just, the game atmosphere, the crowds, and then that aha moment, you've been training, an athlete for so long and they finally accomplish something or add something to their game and, the game is close, whether it's a win or loss, just the excitement of it. I think that what draws me in every game.
It shows because every time you're talking about basketball right now, you have a smile on your face like, yeah, I love it.
Basketball.
And you're preaching to the choir. I love basketball. And it's like my primary sport. If I could play basketball, I would, but I can't. That's a different story. Coach, what is your coaching philosophy?
Good question. I'm gonna have principles. So the main thing for us coaching is to bring the most up out of your players. I believe within the heart, if you can draw a person in inwardly, outwardly, they'll express that. So I have principles we talked about in some of the coaches show episodes, as far as defend, communicate, attack, and execute. Those are principles. And philosophy wise, just giving your all and just putting players in places to succeed. But also making the next coach's job easier. You always have to give back, and help that person grow. So I believe development goes a long way. Training, development, and then just building character on and off the court.
Thank you, Coach. One of the things that we saw with the freshman gold team this year that in my years of watching St. John's basketball, I've not seen before is a sort of team cohesiveness at that freshman, on the freshman level. The guys actually, I saw them from the scrimmages and the end of practicing and stuff like that. You see the first practice when they came out.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was an island, right? They didn't know who they were. They were just thrown together, right? And then by the time the scrimmages drew near, you could see the guys would have this little pockets where a couple of guys are talking to each other. They had their own little cliques. And by the time the scrimmages started, they would all come out of practice together. They would all be together. They would talk to each other, and they sort of formed the way a team. And as the season grew along, I saw that your guys were a team, not just on the court, but off the court, and socially, and on social media as well. I asked one of the kids about it, and he says, "Yeah, we like each other because we like what we're doing." Is that something that you plan for?
Yes. One thing as a coach, you have to give your team vision. If you give a team a vision, it's much easier to go by. Day one, set those standards. One thing I always do as a coach, I make sure guys understand the standard that we want here. Number one, character. I always say you're a representation of your family, your community, your coach, and your teammates. And if you bring that on and off the court, whether you win or lose, you can grow in that success because you can carry that over within school, within work, within home, so just bringing that mentality. And it starts with us as coach. Coach Rebello did a great job assisting me this year and just trying to set that atmosphere. Was it easy? No. And there's always bumps and stuff you don't see behind the cameras, but they wanted to grow. If you give them that guidance, it's there. So the main thing was just setting a standard day one, and just giving them that, like, hey, this is us. Let's find our identity. It wasn't going to happen in game one, but as we grew as a team through the season, looking at each individual player, we know our strengths. So one thing I tell guys, learn your teammates. That guy might be a knockdown shooter. That guy or girl might need to be motivated defensively or whatever it might be. Be there and support that teammate. So at the end of the day, we can see a byproduct of that because we know basketball is a team sport.
I tell you what, it showed because in some of the losses, no guy, and I say it a lot, when you start arguing amongst yourself, when the game is ongoing, you're going to lose. They never did that. Even when they were down, maybe double digits or whatever, you'd see them pick each other up. And a lot of parents remark that. They're like, oh, that is so cool. And for me, just sitting out there and hearing that, right, I loved it. I'm like, you know what? This is what I want because this is what life is about. You're going to move on.
Yeah.
But you have to remember this, and this is sort of serve as a metaphor for life. And I want to tell you though, parents loved it. You may not know it, but if you listen closely on some of the videos, you'd hear them say, they'll say that and say, "Oh, that was pretty cool." So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. And to add to that, they're building. I always say it's easier to lose, early on in high school. But as your career winds down, whether it's from middle school to high school or high school to college or college to pro level, it's harder to lose when it matters the most at the end of that career. Early on, you're learning, take it as a freshman, as a rookie in that analogy, like you're learning, so the point when you become an upperclassman, you're like, okay, I've been here, I've done that. Now I know how to put in the work to get to where I want to be. So yeah, give them that vision, look long-term, day to day, it's not going to all be there. And we know that as a freshman program or even with sophomore, you're still developing. Not everyone comes in ready to play varsity,
True.
So yeah.
Great. When we look at this season, how would you rate it?
I'll say it was a great season far as character. I say the biggest challenges was bringing a group of guys in together that have never played together as a team. So it has its challenges. Can't really rate it, but I say it was successful because they learned the game of basketball. So one thing I always say as a coach, if I'm able to teach it and I don't have to reteach it, they can go on to be successful, whether it's, you know, whatever form of basketball they want to go in, whether it's coaching, being a player, or whatever. So it was successful in that aspect of it, as far as character and learning those traits.
And what I meant, those are actually what I wanted to know. It's not, wins and losses and stuff like that, because you could have a winning team and never mind. You just have a bunch of bad character people on it, and what have you achieved?
Yeah.
You just help them amp up their badness. So whatever they want to call
so our record wasn't where we wanted it to be, but we grew and we learned, and they're still developing. And I have a lot of guys who are going to move on in that aspect. So
great. When you look at your experience as a coach, what would you say really stands out to you that you look back and say, oh yeah, this is what I've been doing. This is really cool.
I say the biggest thing for me is when players can call me or text me at any time and say, hey, coach, can you give me advice? That relational aspect goes beyond the basketball court. And you want that, and regardless of what the sport is. If you're coaching, I believe all sports should be relational. Like going back to what I first said, if you can, challenge the heart and connect there, that friendship and passion grows. So, yeah.
Oh, great. After the season is over, what would you like to tell your players, B, your parents?
So I challenged my players at the end of the season to write a letter. And that letter was to write things they learned from the season and things they want to grow as far as goals. So that was one. And then two, with parents, just be realistic. I believe your athlete is your investment. So if you want your student athlete, number one, to grow in school, number two, to be successful in whatever they try, whether it's in sports or whatever it might be. So challenge parents to be realistic. If you know that player needs training, get them in the gym to train. It's not going to come day one. But also to that player that is good, don't plateau. You might be 6'4" now, but next year you might still be 6'4", and the other guy that was 5'11" is now 6'2". So keep growing in your game, keep developing, and keep encouraging your student athlete.
Very good of you to say that. One of the things that people overlook is the importance of training, especially training on an ongoing basis. And I tell you this as a parent who never trained my kid until, I met Coach Hobson. And he told me there's a difference between going to practice
Correct.
and going and getting the player trained.
Yeah.
Practice, you're practicing for the game or the season. Training is what makes the player better. What would you tell me 4 years ago, or to a parent today that's never trained their kids, or even one that sporadically sends a kid out to training? How would you stress the importance of training to a parent who's got a potential, or very good, or a kid who likes to play basketball?
Yeah, great question. I would say talk to that player's coach. At the end of the season, a lot of coaches, they have player assessment. So, that one-on-one advice gives that player, like, hey, what they need to learn on, and then that can translate, get that information back to the parent. And then find out where are they growing at, their strengths and weaknesses. So if they turned the ball over a lot, they need to probably work on ball handling or whatever moves. But also get them in something competitive. One thing that's very high is travel basketball. AAU amateur basketball, it's there. So just invest in that, invest in the training, find out the right coach. And when you train, you want to find a trainer that's going to develop the whole player. One thing I do as a coach as well as a trainer, figure out what school, what program they're in. Some programs, they work off the hop, while some programs work off 1 and 2 foot. What are those strengths and weaknesses of that program? So when you give that player back to that coach as you're borrowing for the off season or for training, that coach can vouch to say, hey, that player has gotten better within my program. And Great. It translates well.
Great. And you're just making this easy for me. Next thing, you mentioned it, the summer AAU travel basketball. as I was telling you earlier, prior to coming out to Ohio, my kids hadn't played basketball for their age. So if you look at it, is what 17's been playing for about 5 years, which means it started out pretty late.
Yeah.
But with training and coaching and constant training, he's been able to get better. And also by going on the being in the AAU circuit, how important is that for a player who wants to play sports, especially basketball, in high school?
Well, I think it's important, but also don't put all your chips in one basket. And what I mean, some players who do AAU, you know, there are multi-athlete sports. So someone play baseball, someone play soccer, whatever it might be, just invest. Because I believe, especially in high school, play everything. Until most guys and girls are not recruited hard until junior and senior year. So the training, if you are spending that much time training as other people are doing video games or whatever it might be, you're getting that much better. You know, looking at the life of Kobe Bryant, every day he trained, you know, he put in the work to the point where the separation comes in. So training equals separation. Separation means I'm getting better. And it has to be training within the visual, you know, as well as in the physical. You know, some of that training literally might just be watching film. You know, you can train, but then, all right, what do I need to change in my game? Film is all the truth of all things. They'll tell you like, hey, I need help on defense. I need help on my footwork, whatever it might be. So watch the film. I believe if you watch it, it'll help you. If you do it, it'll help you. You know, and you're training your body with those mental reps.
A lot of the kids, thank you. A lot of the kids this day really don't want to watch basketball. This is I'm talking about high school kids or middle school kids. They like watching the pros. And what I tell my kids and nephews and nieces is like, those people know what they're doing. To them, it's a job. You want to watch the guys who are doing it because they want to get there. So I try to make them watch college basketball, both ladies college basketball and the men's college basketball. I said, these guys are not flashy. They're not amping for the cameras. They just want to play fundamentally, and they know if they don't, the coach is going to sit them down. What would you? Am I saying the right thing or?
No, you are. You said it with the answer kind of within fundamental basketball. The jump stops, the pro hops. You know, the basic things, footworks, layups, pass fakes. All those things sometimes can be missed in highlights. You know, but those are the things that make a highlight. The block out, the box out that help, you know, the transition bucket, you know, so don't overlook the detailed things of basketball or within any sport. Those details will take you a long way. It's the hustle plays that determine the course of a game. So definitely look at the right training, but also be realistic. Not every, you know, athlete is going to go on to play college, you know, but while you're in high school, you can make a great, you know, career out of it, you know, but also know your role. Not every player is going to be a starter. You know, some are just spot up shooters, some are just rebounders. So work on that craft, but also look to expand your game if you can.
Great, thank you. And the season's over. Summer season's about to start. Some people are not going to do that. Some people might be. What would you tell the 13 players that were on your team?
So with the goals I have been given, hopefully each one has a goal. You know, whether it's in sports or academics, go find those goals, go look at those daily goals, hang them up, and then go back at it. So find a program. There are many programs locally here. Try to be a part of it, try out, you know, and sometimes you might not make it. Go back, put in the work, you know, but also, again, be realistic. You know, not everyone's up to par, but if you train and put in the work, you can be there, but also don't let what happened today determine your tomorrow. You know, I wasn't the best athlete in school, but, you know, here I am now, years later as a coach, you know, still be a part of the game that you love in some way, in some form, in some fashion. So, yeah, set those goals, you know, get there, look for opportunities, and hopefully they can put the work in and see themselves there, you know, that vision.
Great. I have to tell you this, and no, I'm not going to mention names, but when I looked at the roster, making a video the other day, I could pick out each person, and I could pick out two things I liked about each player on that team, and I loved it because apart from a couple of them, only about two guys or three guys on that team I'd ever played together before, and everybody else was just a stranger. But over time and over the 15, 16 games they played, starting with their scrimmages, they actually got better, visibly better over time. And I don't know if this was planned, but I can tell you this: it's pleasing to watch, and I watch all the videos all over again. It's pleasing to watch, and with that, I want to thank you, not just for this sit down, but also for doing that to the kids, because I believe if they look at it, and I'm going to make sure that when I talk to my son, he's able to talk to his teammates and say, hey, listen, the videos are up, share them with everybody you want, but most importantly, watch them and see how we've improved over time. Because I know when they watch it, and the parents as well, they'll be able to understand and appreciate what what their
sometimes
parents have done.
the process is slow. You don't see that just like grass grows. You don't see it overnight, but by the end of the week, you're like, man, I got to go out and cut it.
Yes.
And same thing with getting in a group of guys or girls together, through the course of a season. When the process starts, it's ugly, right out the gate. And sometimes it can just start out beautiful, and then you hit those bumps and valleys and so forth. So yeah, the process is slow, but the journey is welcome, So take it one stride at a time. And my team has gotten better over the years. And that's one thing I was proud of, regardless of their skill set and their mentality, they put the work in, so it shows for it. And it doesn't always show up in wins and losses, but it shows up. And like you said, in film doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't.
And that's my job as a coach, which is to coach, regardless of where they're coming from, whether 3 or 4 years of experience, no years, or just 1 year. It's my job as coaches, as me as a coach, and all other coaches, is to coach. Your job is to coach. You might not always get the players or the team you want, but you do have the opportunity to make a byproduct of what you want.
Right. Thank you. And now, we'll give you an opportunity to do a freestyle. And if you want to rap, that's cool too. In fact, we insist that you rap. No, but just tell us something, anything. Just
favorite player in the NBA would be
active player.
Active player
Okay.
would be Stephen Curry.
You. We forgive you for that, but go ahead.
Second player would be Klay Thompson. And the reason why I like both of them, they're shooters. As you can see, I'm not a tall guy myself, but they changed the game within that. Players I love to watch are De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Russell Westbrook. The motor, his motor is phenomenal. Ohio State Buckeye fan through and through.
You're saying all the wrong things, so that's fine.
That's all I got.
Okay, favorite player not playing.
Say that again?
Your favorite player that's retired player.
Favorite retired player would be Kobe Bryant, in the passing of him. And the crazy part about that, I loved him more after he retired, because he did a lot of great work after basketball. And during his career he was great, but he shared that. And that's one thing that I love, sharing the knowledge of the game, and I've learned a lot. So I would say Kobe Bryant.
Oh, great. I'm a Lakers fan. My story is really odd. I lived in Nigeria as up to my teens, and I remember seeing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as Hakeem in that Bruce Lee movie. I forget what the name was. The Game of Death or Fist of Fury. And we all swore when we saw him in the theater, we were like, that guy had to be on stilts, because there was nobody that tall. He just seemed crazily tall, and ended up coming out here, going to grad school with him. so that at his school. So at UCLA. So it's so to me it's staying in Los Angeles. It's just there. It's $22 to go watch a Lakers game at the Forum for several years before they moved to Staples Center, and because it was spread out almost like a college field house, not Staples Center where it's nosebleed by the time you get to the cheap seats. But so it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, still my favorite all-time player. But I tell you this, I didn't realize how much I loved Kobe Bryant for a lot of the things he did. And my older son was telling me, he's like, you like Kareem because you talk about his, the man and the character of the man. I said, yes. I said, but he said, but you always stressed Kobe's work ethic. He said, in everything you do, you always say he worked hard every day. He was trying so many shots every day. He was at the top of a game, but he kept on wanting to get better. And I always stress that to him in class and school and everything. And so I didn't know how much I loved Kobe Bryant. And may so rest in peace. He, like you said, he did a lot of things. He shared a lot, not just with basketball, but using basketball and using his voice to get a lot of people to be included. So great. I love that. I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Let's do this with your entire team of coaches every week after every tournament. Can we do this?
If we have time, we
Yes.
will make it.
Yeah, just 10, 15-minute round table. The coaches sit around, and it's a freestyle. You talk about it, anything and everything you want to do, you want to talk about, and let the coaches just take it away. We'll film it and we'll videotape it, and then we'll talk about it. Awesome. Does that work?
It would be great if we have time. We are all busy.
I know, especially with family and all that. But I want to thank you, Coach, from the bottom of my heart. I've seen the development in my son, and I've seen the way the players relate to each other and to you. When the players listen, and one of the things you never did, you never raised your voice. And you talk to the kid and you say, "Oh, why are you doing that now?" And the players will look at you like, "Oh, I let coach down. Why am I doing this?" And it showed that, there are many ways to skin a cat. Why you'd want to skin a cat, I don't know. But there's so many ways to get through to the players. But you got through to the players, they appreciated it, and they changed and improved because of that. As a parent, and on behalf of all the parents on the team, I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for the opportunity you gave the children, and I want to thank you for the improvement in not just their, because it's what's it called? It's played into their educational lives. They did things better at school because they had somebody who was motivating them to be better at everything. So thank you, and God bless. And I pray for great things from you, and look forward to seeing your name in the lights.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, John. And the parents were phenomenal, so I thank them. Grace and peace. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Have a good evening.